Hey, today on the Cooligans, we're going to be talking about the Liga MX final. We're going to be talking about a lot of the MLS transfer moves, rumors, who's coming, who's going. Alexis is still in Los Angeles. Alexis, how are you feeling?
That's right, baby. I'm feeling great. Plus, we're going to have DJ Diveny here, baby.
That's right. Okay, so all this and more today on the Cooligans! You're screaming. I actually didn't understand what you screamed. What did you just say, Alexis?
I said, see, Nene. That's, yeah, baby. It's Spanish because I'm in LA, baby.
See, Nene? I don't know. That's a little bit of a stretch. Baby, maybe?
I didn't want to say baby, so I said Nene. Yeah, maybe it's just a Cuban thing, but we say Nene.
Yeah, but you wouldn't call a girl Nene, right?
No. Wait, so that assumes this entire time I've been yelling at a baby? I've been saying, yeah, comma, you baby.
Yes, that is the proper way to say it. Exactly. Hello, everyone.
I just didn't want to see baby. It was dumb. So what's up, everybody?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hello, my name is Christian Polanco. That is...
I'm Alexis Guerrero.
Okay, Alexis is he's still in Los Angeles, he's doing comedy there. He's doing a couple soccer podcasts, and he's eating what?
A whole lot of eating.
A whole lot of eating. But that happens regardless of what zip code Alexis is in. That's usually common. You know how Ludacris has hoes in every area code. Alexis has.
I got calories.
I had a better joke. I was gonna say you got ho-hos in every area code, but
negligible.
All right, look, we're two different types of comedians. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway,
that's what makes the show great. Like you're a comedian and I'm a great comedian. You know what I mean? So when you put those two together,
we make semi-magic. Hello, everyone. Yes, we are the Cooligans. We are your favorite stand-up comedians that host the funniest soccer show that you have ever seen. And it is not only that, Alexis. What else is it?
It just so happens to be the gulliest.
That's right. And this today's show is going to be
Steve
okay. It's going to be. This episode is going to require subtitles. So get ready, everyone at Fubo. Start typing them up.
It's going to be mad Spanglish.
So there's yes, we have to talk about a couple matches that happened throughout the break, and we should start with the Liga MX final between Club America and Monterrey Rayados. And Rayados ended up winning this match in winning the final in penalties. And interestingly enough, the Rayados and Rayadas have won. So in the Liga MX Femenil.
That's right. Rayadas won the Femenil. That's right.
Yeah, and the dudes won it as well. So you have
right, Liga MX
dudes, the Dude League. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
We got that. I mean, it's a good branding. I think it's a lot of potential. So
it seems to work.
For Southern California. Oh, they'll love it. All right, the dude league. But no, that is pretty cool for them for both teams to end up winning, because you would hope, like in international soccer, for the women's national team, for the bar to be, for the men to be able to reach the same level that the women reach. But no, but at least it's happening for these two teams, right? So this was the game was great. The result was 2-1 in the second leg, but 3-3 aggregate, and then it ended up going to penalties. The game was just absolutely insane, and this is why we love Liga MX games.
Liga MX is like the littiest league.
Yeah,
it's just like, however crazy you think it can get, it goes even beyond that. The fans are going nuts. It's like a mid-season, but it's a championship. It's just the greatest.
Whether it's a missed opportunities, great chances that whiffed kicks and all, it was just insane. But the fact that Rayados were able to just come back and because they look like in the first half that they were gonna get like pretty much slaughtered, and they ended up surviving and then winning in penalties. But the interesting thing, there was
Club America is very clearly a better club, at least the way its style of play. Maybe it's the management, whatever it is.
A lot of history.
Team, but yeah, but you got to be able to win the game, and that's something that Rayados was able to do.
The second half, they came through, but the interesting thing was their new manager who came in mid-season, Turco Antonio Mohamed, right? He. After they won the final, there was a video of him just in tears.
He stayed like in the dugout.
Yeah,
he like stayed in the dugout, was crying, and like a bunch of the coaches came up to him to sort of congratulate him, and then he sort of got up and he did like a like he pointed to the sky or something, like, you know what I mean? Like clearly it was a very emotional thing. And this is, I don't know if you knew this beforehand, but I didn't know the backstory here.
I did not know the backstory, and shout out to one of our fans, Eric Gomez, who, remember we hung out with him in Seattle. He was the one. He told me, he's like, oh, this is why he was emotional. So the reason was because he played. I believe he played in Mexico when he was for Monterrey. So when he was younger, and then at one point during a World Cup I believe in Germany. In 2006, he goes. He brings his family to Germany. I believe he was an assistant while he was out there, and he was in a car crash. And his son, who I believe was 9 or 10 years old at the time, his son was in the car with him. I guess they had fallen asleep in the car or something along those lines. And there was a car crash. They were rear-ended, and his son passed away. And it was really unfortunate. But the reason why he was so emotional in that particular time was because his son was a huge Rayados fan. He used to be one of the mascots. So all his memories of his son were and Rayados were very intertwined. And he made a promise to his son that he would help Rayados win the league one day. And he made it happen, and that's why he was so emotional, because he was really doing it for his son. So it was a beautiful story.
This is part of, like, when we talk about, like, soccer is just more than the game that's being played on the pitch or the field for 90 minutes. This is a sign of that. I mean, what a beautiful sort of ending to a really horrific story, and hopefully this gives Turco just a little bit of closure and is able to sort of maybe close that chapter and put it to somewhat rest and just keep the positive memories of the time he got to spend with his son versus sort of fighting to make his memory, I don't know, valid is the right word, but you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sort of like, now he can sort of like maybe have a little bit of calm.
Yeah, and I'm glad. I mean, it's definitely something I'm glad we got. It was pointed out to us because, you know, we're not watching Liga MX that regularly, so we don't really know a lot of these details. But thank you for Eric for pointing that out to us, and interesting and really cool story. So yeah, and at least you know there was a bit of a happy ending, and like you said, a little bit of hopefully some closure. But yeah. Just incredible. So, all right, we're going to be back with more right after this, guys. All right, welcome back. So, more news in Major League Soccer. This is that the preseason starting soon. And you love all the off-season drama when it comes to where players are gonna end up. And let's highlight a couple players that are leaving. First of all, Lucho Costa, who had that very public ordeal with DC United.
He said goodbye to everybody.
He said goodbye to everybody, and then they were like, nah, you got. And then he just shows back up into the locker room. So he
was like, you're cool, F you.
Yes. If you don't know about just Google Lucho Costa and PSG, and it'll all make sense if you do not know about that. But Lucha Costa does end up with Atlas, so he goes to Liga MX, and that this seems to be the what's been going on at the moment, which is players either like a little league swap, like wife swap, but with soccer leagues. So the some players are leaving Liga MX to come play here. Like an example would be the Chivas striker Alan Pulido, who left Chivas to go to Sporting Kansas City, and that was a huge signing on their part. And then we have another one, which is LGP Leandro Gonzalez Perez, who ended up going to Cholos, leaving Atlanta United, which was probably a big surprise for a lot of people, but. There's
not a name that a lot of people were saying were leaving, right? Like the big issue was is where's Julian Gresso going to go? And the whole time LGP is just like very quietly packing his bag.
Yes, right. There is the frustrating thing with a lot of these transfers is that the MLS, the Players Association, the CBA, since that hasn't been agreed upon, there's a lot of players that don't know what their future is going to be because that's not in place, because the teams don't know what their budgets are going to be or anything along those lines. So a lot of players are just kind of in limbo right now.
Yeah, I think it was Paul Tenorio put out a tweet saying like this person got re-signed and their contract would be above the targeted allocation money threshold. And people were like, why would you phrase it that way? And he was like, well, target allocation might not exist. So, there's a lot of stuff that's like in limbo.
Yeah. It's confusing. Yeah. This is a weird.
Wait a minute. MLS roster rules and cap rules are confusing.
No, but it's confusing not just because of the acronyms that are going to exist or not exist. It's because there's just like actual players who don't know what is going to happen, right? Like we had Derek Etienne here, and he's probably one of those people that is like, hey, I'd like to sign for a team real soon, but they don't know what their money situation is going to be like. We don't know. They don't know what exactly is going to happen, because there is that possibility that there still might be a strike, right? That's kind of the cloud hanging up over all of these like kind of negotiations and all of that kind of confusion.
Yeah, I mean, look, is a strike possible? I think the Players Association was so like I don't want to use the term belittle, but they were knocked back so much for not striking last time that it seems like everyone has their finger on the trigger for a potential strike. And I think the worst news so far is that there's been no news. Yeah. Like some people think that's a good thing. I think that's a bad thing. I think like positive news, or even like people leaking stuff, that lets me know like, oh, okay, there's movement happening. Right now seems to be a standstill.
Yeah, but there's still a couple rumors, and I guess we have to like grade how legitimate they even or credible they feel. But the one that seemed pretty wild was Luka Modric, right? Of Real Madrid, rumored to have interest from DC United, right? DC United let go of Wayne Rooney, and just that's it. They can replace Wayne Rooney with a Ballon d'Or winner. You know how it is.
Yeah. That's you just move one piece over and the other one takes its place.
Is DC United the new hot spot? I don't know. It seems like
what is up?
What is going on in the district?
Yeah, man. Everybody wants a little mumbo sauce.
This is so after the rumor about Luka Modric to DC United, it was revealed. I don't know how. Again, I don't know how credible it necessarily is, but that was the first team that they said that there was any possibility. But the other teams have come up. I believe Atlanta United as a possible destination for Luka, and I think Inter Miami. I think there was like another team kind of at play. But in general, it always seems weird with MLS because it feels like they are. Almost like the league the league office has influence on where the player goes, as opposed to, that doesn't work that way with any other league. It's like the club kind of represents themselves. So it does seem like an odd thing that like it's basically like MLS trying to court him, and. And like, oh look, this will be a good city. Like, and rents are really good here, or properties are really, it's
yeah.
It just seems like an odd.
You want to become a potential investor here? Yeah. I think MLS is like the only league where like a player is like, all right, fine, I'll play in your country, but then later we'll decide where. Like, it's a very odd. It doesn't happen. Like we here, Christian Pulisic is coming to England. We'll find out where at the 7 o'clock hour.
Ooh.
But it doesn't happen. Yeah,
it's the leading story on Talk Soup.
Yeah, it's very odd how that works.
So look, who wouldn't want Luka Modric playing here? I believe he's 33 or 34 years old.
34,
he's still. And for the type of position he plays, he's similar to kind of Rooney. He's a midfielder, not really expected to be a box-to-box guy. Just kind of be like a little bit better than, like, more aggressive than Pirlo. Is that maybe a safe way to describe Luka Modric?
I've seen corpses more aggressive than Pirlo. I think Luka, for a long period of time, was the best player in the world at his position. So.
Okay.
Probably a good pickup if you're DC.
Nice.
Or Inter or whoever.
Yeah, I'm sure Screaming Eagles would love that. All right, we'll be back, guys. All right, so let's do this. Let's get into some Major League Soccer collective bargaining agreement talk.
Are we about to solve the CBA right here?
Let's figure it out for everybody to understand. So again, we mentioned it briefly, but yes, the next few weeks you may see more news about the Players Union and the league, figuring out what the future of the league will look like when it comes to that relationship between the league and its players. And there's a couple more details. Like basically, the Players Union has kind of drawn their line in the sand and said what they want, what are the as they say, tier one most important issues that they're kind of looking to chase. And let's kind of start. If people should look this up actually, because it is pretty interesting. So if you go to mlsplayers.org/progress, you can kind of see the status and what they're asking for, and you can kind of form your own opinion. Do you think these players are being divas, asking for too much? When they're making $45,000 a year,
Ooh, big spender.
Okay, that's the problem with these millennials nowadays. They want enough money to eat and survive.
Right, they don't understand the value of $1, which is how much you make per game in MLS.
Oh, well, they'll learn. You mean these $300 million as an expansion fee? That ain't your money. All right, you didn't earn that money.
They're like, all right. The MLS is like, yo, we'll give you chartered flights, but you gotta sell like Girl Scout cookies, and whoever gets the most sales gets the chartered flight.
Okay.
Are we cool with that? Is everyone cool with that?
It feels like a good deal for all parties involved.
Can I hear a yay or a nay?
No, I'm hungry does not count. That is not one of the.
Yeah. No, you can't have some more.
So we should point there's a couple. The website is great and kind of points out the important things for the Players Union, and you can hear there's been a couple quotes of what some of the players have been saying. There was a recent interview with it was a meeting, or it's not an interview, but this was with Eric Miller, who is one of the representatives in the Players Union. He recently played for NYCFC. He was formerly a member.
He was on our show.
He also played for Minnesota United for a while as well. And based on I'm reading this is Mickey Turner, who is a writer for, I believe he writes for The Athletic. I could be wrong, but I think he does. But
he does write for The Athletic and Sounder at Heart.
That's right. So, and we met him in Seattle. Great dude. So he kind of has a thread of a lot of the quotes from the meeting, and one of them, a couple of them were travel and charter flights for MLS players. Currently, MLS teams only how many? I believe it's four trips, 4 flights that are allowed to be.
That's all you're allowed to charter, but that's important because some teams are like, let me charter more, and they're like, no. And it seems to be a hot issue for MLS because it's quoted in the Mickey Turner's tweet here that it's generally about $20 million for all the clubs to have full charter per year.
I mean, it's a lot of money, but when you hear like,
but it also doesn't sound like a lot because it's a league. Like, yo, shake the couch cushion, dog.
There seems to be a lot of money coming in, and different avenues.
Yeah.
Maybe make it work. I don't know. So, but that is an issue. But and then the other one is that players seem to not want GAM and TAM and these like financial kind of these financial structures to build rosters.
To quote Eric Miller, he said, getting rid of it will improve transparency and other players should be able to compete for the money. He also says fans and media don't particularly like it, which is true. We use it as a joke. I mean, Tam and Gam is a sort of a running gag for us, so it makes it easy for us to joke because
exactly.
It's such a
Tam,
sort
Gam,
of a frustrating.
Thank you, ma'am. We got jokes all day.
Yeah, buddy, we got bids. Not that one. That was just wordplay. But for the most part, we've got jokes.
So I think from a I don't know, from a fan and media perspective, I think we don't necessarily understand it completely, but we see that the rosters are getting better. So to us, we're just like, all right, we don't care how you make it work, but I'm seeing players, that the quality is being raised. So it seems like we're
right,
cool
for
with
us,
it.
it's like pick your own cockamamie acronym. We don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Just get better players in here.
Call it the cockamamie rule. What do I care? Have fun. Just
cockamamie allocation money. Get some cam.
Okay, I just want to see guys that are good at soccer kicking the ball around. Is that too much to ask? I don't.
It doesn't seem difficult.
But
I hope they can charter a flight to and from these games that I get to enjoy.
But at least you see that when you hear players really make that point, like, oh, we just want to be able to have an opportunity to get some of that money that is being kind of unfairly distributed to the top level of the roster. And I think that's kind of what the next CBA will be about, to take care of the player that makes a little bit of money. Because we saw what Wayne Rooney was saying when he was playing here. He was just like, these guys are doing the same amount of work that I'm doing, and they are being paid a grossly insufficient amount. So you hope that, and we'll see where it goes. Obviously, the league doesn't want to give them the money, and the players really want it, and so we'll see what ends up happening.
They'll come up with fair allocation money, and we'll say, nah, fam.
We can't. I don't know what to tell you right now. All right.
Nah, fam.
We'll be back with more after this, guys. Okay, welcome back. So, more to discuss, and especially there's been a couple over the weekend in England, whether it's a Premier League game, championship, doesn't matter. There's been a lot of issues with VAR, right? And we've experienced
if VAR had a statue in England, it would be treated worse than the Zlatan Ibrahimovic statue was treated at
That's
Malmo.
right. Let's not build the statue. They haven't earned it just yet. But specifically, there's been more debate about VAR, right? England was basically the last league. The Premier League was the last league to implement it, and then when they did, they were like, you know what, we'll do it our way, and it is not.
Yeah, they're not even looking at the screen. They're just like,
hey,
there's no one there.
Yeah.
Like, hey, mate, want to go for a pint after this? He's
you know what?
No goal.
God told me it was offside. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. He's just like, he's listening to hip hop. He's like, all right, that's enough time. Yeah, it's no go. I didn't like it.
No, in particular, we know how as MLS fans, we know how it's been used here and how it's really been used everywhere else. Is when there's an issue,
which seems fine.
The VAR, ref, he's like, hey, go take a look at this, and then the center referee takes a look at it. It's a pretty simple system. It's kind of worked pretty well. But no,
it works.
In England, they don't want to. I guess they feel that the time it takes to have the referee go to the screen is too distracting or takes too much time. And what's happening is the complete opposite, where the center referee is not looking at anything, just trusting the headquarters, the Premier League headquarters or whatever, and basing the decision off of that. And this takes more time than necessary. And the bigger issue now is because the offside system. They use they have lasers or rule. They have lines.
Like NASA.
It's Premier League. You're doing too much. That's the best thing we can say to you. You're doing too much. And
in some cases, you're doing nothing. In other cases, you're doing not enough.
So
in this case, you're doing too much, and all of that is within VAR.
Yeah, and the main reason there's been a kerfuffle and a lot of complaints is because the offside, the VAR offside is taking away goals that are so, centimeters of a difference. Whether you can't even really tell if it's onside or offside. When you get to this point where it's that minuscule and it doesn't really matter. Like if they scored, then good on them. It can't be a hair of an armpit. Was that's too much. Now the game is not even fun anymore.
If your elbow is less than an inch over, bruh, you're good. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing?
So
I get the whole human eye element, right? And offside is a ridiculously difficult rule to sort of try to, monitor, right? But this is too much. Once you bring in like the Fox Sports type, it's too much. There's beams and stuff, and there's a lot of lights. There's dotted lines.
A lot of leagues, they tried. Remember when the NHL on Fox had the track?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Like we saw it and we were like, you know what? This ain't working for us. This is making the game more distracting and not fun. So this is just another one of these things, but this is not even just it's affecting the entertainment value of the game because the game is now stopped for a long amount of time. Like the offside rule should just be like, yo, what happened to the offensive player has the advantage? Like, well, you just leave them there's a saying. What's the saying? I forgot the exact saying about like the player on offense has like the more of the advantage or or the benefit of the doubt to some degree. That's how it should be. We should just keep moving on with the game. If something is absolutely egregious and is visible with the naked eye, fine, you understand calling the goal back. But this is insane.
There's also something to be said for like the guys on Twitter who do these things on their own, like those dotted line things on their own.
Yeah.
And like later on, there's like conversation like that goal shouldn't have counted. My team never actually lost that. Like there's some passion involved in that. During the game, everyone's just kind of standing there waiting for some nerdy mathematician to figure it out on a supercomputer. It's too much.
So, yeah, that's the synopsis. It's too much. All right. We'll be back with much more and DJ Diveny after this. All right, welcome back, and now we are joined by our guest, and I'm excited to introduce our next guest because this is the first time we're gonna do anything really interactive and a little bit more. We're gonna get a little physical on today's show.
So that's only because the many times that I've asked, they will not order pizza to the studio during the show. So
which is a real shame. But no, we are excited to welcome our next guest in studio with us, DJ Diveny. everybody.
Yeah, that's
Diveny.
right.
Oh my god.
You got it. Second time.
I tried. I was like, I was
Also,
so
put your
confident.
hands together unless you're driving. For DJ Diveny, everybody. Oh, wait, it's this way. There he is, right there.
We're still figuring out how to do a television show. DJ Diveny, how's it going, man?
It's going well, man. Thank you for having me.
We've seen you around in the
Oh,
soccer.
well, hold on a second. Look at me also, DJ, okay? It's not just Christian.
Don't worry about him.
I was gonna dap you guys up and like give like a fist bump to the TV.
Yeah,
You can do that.
No,
Hey,
we met.
got it.
We met you, I think, formally for the first time, which was in Miami at the Neymar Fives.
Yeah.
And you were someone who I saw on like.
If I remember correctly, I think we were standing there kind of waiting to start. DJ was asking us for our autograph, and I was like, "Come on, leave us alone."
Yeah.
Still didn't get it.
Yeah. I'm glad that restraining order has expired.
Well, that's how I'm here. You know, the security asked about it, but then.
But no, we met you there. I believe we even played in a game. We played in a game together. We were on the same team.
In the creators game or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah,
We're all creative. We all you create. Probably with a little bit more talent, but we do all create. We're all in that window.
At the end of the day, we're all in the same category.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yes, we met at the Neymar Fives, and we saw and you are a person who attends a lot of events, and you're basically you're the guy. They're like, hey, he does tricks. Bring him to events. But you obviously you have you're more of a you have more depth than just a guy who just does a bunch of tricks, and that's why I have a lot of questions about that. But I remember when that was when we first met. But you had told me a little bit about your past, and maybe you'll get into it organically. But how do you become a soccer freestyler?
For me, it was just like as a young age, like getting into juggling a soccer ball and practicing keep ups and just becoming kind of addicted to that. And then kind of seeing a few tricks here and there from players. And then YouTube came out, and then, there are people creating these like freestyle moves. And it was just kind of thing where it was like, I need to do that. And that was kind of it. And
it's odd to me that you feel like you needed to do it because you are. And you mentioned this before. You were in school for astrophysics, and when you said that, I'm like, hey, bro, you don't look like an astrophysicist.
You don't need to lie to us. Okay.
Okay, I don't know what you're. This isn't a first date,
right.
DJ. I don't know who you're trying to impress.
Yeah. Well, Christian and I met at brain surgery school, which I believe is what it's called. So, look at us, a couple of geniuses here.
So, how does one go? How does they seem like such polar interests?
Yeah,
how does was an astrophysics thing? I said anyway. How does one make that leap into soccer?
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I started college in architecture.
Okay.
So plot twist, but I ended up just like hating that, and I was kind of.
You're like, this isn't enough work.
Right.
How can I get much more stressful study?
You just gotta make it harder. You gotta upgrade.
Yeah.
Level 10. But yeah, so I had a great physics teacher in high school, and I'd always loved like thinking and studying space, science fiction movies, and stuff like that. So they had a great program at NJIT, and I actually almost switched schools. I almost went to TCNJ because I like acronyms, and then
which is the College of New Jersey.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so because I wanted to play soccer, and actually when I went to NJIT, I wasn't recruited, so I had planned on walking on, and I realized when I got there that's not how it works.
Yeah, because there's like, who's this nerd trying to play soccer, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so
your glasses kept breaking. You kept your Gatorade in beakers.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what an astro.
They weren't about it. I don't know why. But yeah, so I ended up trying again in the spring and got onto the team. So I decided to stay at NJIT and switch my major to physics. And just really enjoyed studying it, but didn't like love it the way I love soccer.
Yeah.
And I was kind of hoping in school that I would like kind of latch on to research and to astronomy and things like that in a way that I would have a career in it. But as I got towards the end and kind of like trying to find work, it just kind of wasn't lining up, and it also just didn't feel ultimately right. And so after school, or actually my last semester of school, I was on the New York Red Bull street team.
Okay.
So they have like the Harlem Globetrotters, but soccer.
Yeah.
Which is how I always explain what I do to people who don't know what freestyle is.
Sure.
And so I started doing that. And once I realized I wasn't getting any like work, I was just like, well, I'm just going to juggle a soccer ball until I can make something happen. And here we are.
All right.
So,
Okay. All right. We'll talk more with DJ right after this, everybody. All right, we are back with DJ Diveny, and we have to talk about. So I'm actually just curious about your. What was the? Because you had mentioned like just trying to find work. What was like the? If astrophysics worked out, what was like the dream job or the dream like research that you would have wanted to work on?
Probably. I mean, it probably would have required getting a PhD.
Yeah.
In further studies and maybe even cosmology, like deep space. And
Makeup.
Like
oh
that.
No, sorry.
Yeah. Cosmetology.
Yeah.
It's close.
Kind of contour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny. Sometimes people think I say I have a degree in astrology, not astronomy, and they're like, "What's my sign?" I'm like, "I don't know, man." Like,
We're here with Walter Mercado.
Yeah, he's got an envelope who's for him. When someone asks you about like, or be like, "Oh my God, you know the stars? I'm a Libra." Like, do you just be like, "None of this is real, dude. You're looking at lights from beings that died millions of years ago." You know what I mean?
That's how my girlfriend and I started dating. It's like that was the conversation.
You're like, you believe in garbage. Now let me show you what I can do with this dinner roll.
All right, you're flexing on her. So
I don't know. I'm in.
No, it's great, man. Well, I mean, we've seen you. If you don't follow DJ on Instagram, I mean, he's unbelievable. You've done some. Not only have you done some like incredible tricks, you've traveled all over the world. Look, people kind of associate like, oh, if you play a sport, that will kind of give you all these opportunities, but you just juggle a ball. You're not even playing against another person.
Yeah.
And you are like one of these people that I get mad at. I'll be honest. I get mad at your Instagram page sometimes because you go to you're like in Thailand and these gorgeous locales, and I'm like, it feels like you don't have a job, but you're working.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Well, it's interesting, and
also you're one of the hardest working people we've met.
That's what people don't see.
At the same time, we're like, what does he do? Why is he in Qatar right now on the roof of a tall building? And I love when you get sponsored content because it's like you do a backflip, and in that backflip you kick a ball through like a hoop, and then all of a sudden you're like, dubs. And I'm like, what? What does this have to do with head and shoulders?
No, but it's so true. Like people, a lot of my audience also ask me like, what team do you play for? Or why don't you play for a team or this and that? I'm like, look, like I just do skills and people like watching me do skills. And now people pay me to do it. So why not,
Yeah, I mean, and when did you start in particular with freestyling and focusing on the tricks and improving that skill?
I would say, I just further got into it. I was in high school, just like learning the skills and kind of building almost like an archive of different tricks and combining them together and start introducing music and rhythm and things like that. And then in college, once I started with the New York Red Bulls, that was when I started making money doing it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of just a huge game changer because I realized, there might be a real market or a space for this that I can find an opportunity in.
And how long do you think? How long can you go as a freestyler? Like, when is it? Is there a tipping point where it's like now I get sad seeing this old man kick a ball up?
It's interesting, I think there's a few ways to think about it, but the way I like to think about it is you can always like reposition yourself and change the conversation.
Sure.
So, I mean, like right here and now, like I'm on this TV spot.
Yeah.
And it's like this can be something different where I'm still integrated into soccer, but not having to rely on tricks and athleticism.
Okay.
So you can always
You ain't
change
taking
and
our
pivot.
job, DJ.
But
Get out of here.
because there is that real commitment to the craft, right? I mean, we're stand-up comics, right? And it's
Exactly.
like we always have to work on it. We're always doing shows, and there is that struggle that a lot of people do not see. But it is. I'll ask you this question about like what. Do you feel like there is a bit of a pressure to always put out the positives on social media because sometimes people don't want to, maybe the struggle maybe doesn't get as many views?
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's kind of the same thing going back to what I just said. I think a lot of people put that facade. It's like the status quo of what you do because it looks good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've posted one of my best videos is a video of me not making a shot. It's a 5-minute video of me just missing 100 times.
Yeah.
And it has 2 million views or something.
Yeah, and
So-
but the rest are also of your abs, and they look great.
Yeah. Who sponsored that video where you didn't get anything? Was it a condom company? It's like, look, sometimes it's best not to hit your mark.
Okay, look, can we manage DJ? I think we can position him.
I'm here, the phone's ringing.
All right, we're actually gonna be back with DJ doing some tricks in studio. Back after this. Okay, welcome back to the Cooligans. We are here with DJ Diveny, and we're gonna do some tricks in studio. This is the first
And
time.
congrats, you got the name right.
Thank you. I try my best. But this is the first time we're doing anything like this in the studio, so we don't know exactly what to expect, but we do know that DJ is gonna bring the heat.
We also know that the production staff is very scared.
Yeah, there's a lot. Just you can't see it because everyone's behind the camera, but everyone here is absolutely terrified. They literally.
A lot of the cameras might have a slight shake to them.
Let's get started. We'll talk to you as you go through it. But if there's any trick that is that is appealing or interesting or scary, go. That's the one you start with. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, freestyle is just kind of like the art of controlling and doing tricks with the ball, combining them together.
What is the crowd pleaser? Like, is there something that when you do
crowd
crowds, it's just
pleaser
like,
is right here. So you guys are gonna clap when I clap. Right?
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Well,
he can't.
delayed, so Christian, you do it.
2 claps.
Okay.
2 claps. 3 claps. No, I didn't clap.
Okay.
So you only clap when I clap.
All right.
Go down.
I'll be honest. I'm not pleased right now.
So now you just clap when I clap.
Okay. Okay. All right. No, this isn't crowd. This is just exercise.
2 claps.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. No.
But that people usually like that.
If you're just listening to this, he's doing a push-up, clapping in front and then behind his back and still catching him. If I tried that, I would have broken my face.
Is there any tricks like when you I'm sure when you do this and maybe in front of kids and kids want to be like, how do I get started? What can I do? Is there anything I can start with and learn that make me feel like a freestyler?
You're gonna learn the neck stall, which you've probably done before.
Okay, I have. Yes, I've seen it.
And so you've probably done it here, but we'll just learn from placing it on your neck.
Sure.
And that way you can
Because
just...
I've never landed it from my foot to my neck. That has not happened.
Well, that's on the next
Yeah. I've taken.
He's actually been able to hit a kid's neck in front of him, which is very impressive.
I've been able to super glue a ball and put it onto my neck, and that's worked perfectly.
So yeah, so if you want to do it together, we'll just start by touching our toes.
Okay, all right. Glad Alexis is not here. We're a little tough.
And then you're just gonna look up, chin goes up.
Okay.
And your elbows go back as far as they can.
Okay.
And then I'm just gonna place the ball for you.
All right, look at this.
And you're done. So now I want you to try to spin around without dropping it.
Okay.
Can we just CGI edit this so it looks like Christian was able to do this?
I feel like I can also like twerk.
Yeah. Bounce it, you know?
So I don't know if that's on camera, but feel free. I don't know what rating this show now has.
Yeah.
So see if you can go down into the push-up.
Oh, into the push-up. All right. Can I do a push-up? All right. Oh, okay.
Try to keep those shoulder blades back.
Okay.
Up.
All right.
There you go. One knee.
There it is. Okay, okay.
Nice and slow.
Why do you look like a grandpa doing this?
Because I'm terrified. Because this is being broadcast.
There you go.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Hey.
I have never been happier to not be in the studio. Because I would not be doing
Under
push-ups.
pressure for.
Oh, I can, all right. I
That
tried
was
my
sick
best.
though.
Okay. I wanted to ask because this was one of the questions from our Gully Squad members, Jess Hewen. She asked, because you have a background in physics, do you ever think about physics whenever you create tricks or anything like that?
Never.
Okay.
That's the short answer.
Yeah. It's a fair. Is there anyone, a player or other freestylers that are kind of inspirational or kind of push you to try to be better?
Yeah, I've always like looked up to Andrew Henderson, who's like a 5-time world champ, and he actually just switched to mixed martial arts. So he's just an incredible athlete.
Okay.
And that's why I feel like I really kind of relate to him in that sense as like an overall athlete and just someone who's just wants to be
Freestyler
successful.
to MMA fighter is about as grand a switch as astrophysics.
That's what I mean. That's where it connects.
That's okay. It's impressive. Is there any trick that you are particularly known for?
Yeah, so I would say, I won't do it in here because there's not enough space, but this one is probably a big crowd pleaser as well if you want to take a slight step back.
Okay, yeah.
So I usually do this to maybe end a show or like take a break in the show for
No
people
one's
to
going to
clap.
wheel me back a little bit at all?
So I usually like do something that builds up to this and then like I kind of like get the crowd like worked up.
Yeah.
And then we go
Got it.
down
Okay.
into like
yeah,
a little magic mic
ridiculous.
action. You know, sometimes I hold it.
I was going to say, wait, I know you're in a relationship, but prior to that, does someone watching you do these tricks have a higher expectation for you in the bedroom now? Because they're like, if you can do that, with a ball,
It's not untrue.
yeah.
Okay.
I hope you can keep me up in my libido.
Okay, yeah, this is good because we don't really get to talk about freestylers' sex lives enough, and I'm glad we got to merge those things.
But I want to know. I just want to show you guys something. Look who's awake.
Look,
But
okay,
watch,
look.
I'm going to juggle her on my head. Hold on. No, I'm joking.
We got the dog on camera. Wow, the freestylers.
She was asleep.
Okay, look at that. He didn't even let her wake up. So clearly there was not consent to put that dog on television. Alexis, typical.
Thank God I didn't wear that Michael Vick jersey.
Wow. Okay, DJ, thank you so much for joining us, man. You're incredible. Thank you for bestowing us with your presence and this incredible skill. We're going to end the show the way we normally do, but we have to do some of the housekeeping, right? Where we normally say that, right? Follow Soccer Cooligans.
No.
Housekeeping? I don't know how to say it. Follow at Soccer Cooligans. Make sure you follow at Fubo Sports. Follow the YouTube channel. You can see
5-star review.
Leave a review on iTunes, and you can see stuff like this. This is unbelievable. My name is Christian Polanco. I saw this for DJ
Alexis
Diveny. This is Alexis Guerreros. DJ Diveny. And together, what are we, Alexis?
The Cooligans!